Thank you. All right, so it's probably now 6:01, and I'm going to call the regular select board meeting to order. First item up is to adjust agenda, and I think we have, what do we have?
Something's changed.
Oh, number 5.
Number 5.
It's highlighted on John so that
To
he doesn't
discuss
forget.
PD.
Yeah, to select board to discuss and consider authorizing the town manager to begin contracting for services to provide police department staffing due to staffing shortfalls caused by officer attrition.
So I'm just writing down select board to
Yeah.
discuss PD, because I don't want to write all that. But you can.
When you bring it up, I can say.
Yes. Anything else to add or subtract or amend?
Did we want to add, we can do it in old business too, a town manager hiring update?
I think we should, yep, add it. I think we should do it as an old business.
Okay,
Okay. Are you gonna?
I'll bring it. Somebody will bring it.
Excellent.
Did you have something you want to add in there?
Me? No.
So could we have a motion to adjust the agenda to add a number 5 to discuss the police department?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
You too? That was everybody, right?
yep.
Yeah. Okay, so motion carries. That was everybody. Okay, so next is select board to approve minutes from regular select board meeting, which was August 5th. I think I was not at that. I was not in attendance. I think Sherry led the charge
Motion to
there.
approve.
No, she didn't.
You led the charge?
I led the check.
Excellent, well
We
done,
got out of
Wiz.
here in record time.
Well, you know, I always nominate someone else to do that.
So Sherry makes a motion to approve as written.
Second?
Second. I'm gonna abstain from this vote, but all in favor, please say, oh wait, we can't both abstain.
Yeah, we can't both abstain.
All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
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 Was that a block or
Huh?
was that both of the minutes? Or
No,
just
that was
one?
sorry, that was just the
Most recent.
August 5th.
Yeah.
And this, okay, so the next, and Kaylee and I ended up voting on that just to make sure it would go. The minutes did look good, even though I wasn't here. They looked,
Yeah.
and then the next one
They were
is a
shorter, I think.
special meeting on August 10th.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I
We're
guess.
knocking this stuff down.
It's another. Okay, so next up, communication from the audience. Not,
Bill's here
you're
for us.
here for the energy, right? Excellent. All right, so no audience communication. Next is town manager report.
Don't read my notes too well. I typed these, I didn't proof them very well. But anyway, I performed a health inspection on Ward Hill. It's not necessarily a place where I would want to live, but there's been a few complaints by surrounding neighbors of various things that are going on that are happening there. And they complain, some things I can't personally deal with, but health issues dealing with water, sewage, and garbage I can deal with. So I went up with the town health officer, we did an inspection. The place is beautiful, but I didn't see any obvious trash, garbage, or sewage flowing on the ground anywhere, and there was no odors of that. There's 1 pig, 20 chickens, a couple dogs, and a couple compost piles, but they feed most of their compost initially to the chickens. And so they haven't got a septic system put in yet, but they have someone coming every week to pump out the septic tank, and they have someone coming to pick up the trash every week. And they have contacted an engineer, and the engineers are all backed up anyway for septic system designs. They're backed up like sewage, right? Anyway, our office, we contacted Sunwise Surveying for the Bailey Hazen Road surveying project, as that process has to follow state statute. And I'm not sure how it was approved, if it was approved in advance or not, but Larry Hamill was calling me and wanting it done, and I went up there and met with the neighbors and met with Larry. Then I contacted Bill Davies, and he goes, well, sorry to say, it's got to follow all state statutes for laying out a roadway. So Sunwise is going to survey the little area. I don't know, it's a couple 100 feet long.
It's small.
And they have to reset property lines when they do that. So that makes it necessary to follow those regulations. And then
John,
also,
sorry, is part of that process, do we have to
You have to go there.
do we have to throw up the old,
we would have to,
or does it,
no, technically, we would have to throw up we'd have to throw up
the
the
part
rights
that
of
we're
way.
abandoning? It seems like it'd be cleaner if we do that.
Yeah, I mean, they do have to. It's going to be cleaner, but it's going to be messy first.
Yeah,
And then that property goes back to the owners.
yeah, the underlying landowner.
Yeah, and where the property's moving to the other property, those owners will probably own on both sides of that road, because they shouldn't lose any property.
Right.
They would just go to the center where of the old road where it was, and then the other owners would go to the center of that road, if that's where it ended up. But yeah, they're gonna have to do that, and so she's done this before, Lisa, and so she's gonna do that.
Great.
And then the other one she's gonna do is she's going to go up to the open reservoir on Bridgman Hill, because we have an open, it's like a pond, a dam, that's up there beside the closed reservoir.
The old reservoir.
Yeah, and that's never been identified, the property, and the town's had that, how long? 27?
1896.
1896, so
No, 1892, I'm sorry.
it's not,
We must have a deed.
there's no deed that we found to that, but there's a deed to the reservoir where the building is now. But you know, the deeds were like to the maple tree, turn right by the 5-strand barbed wire fence, and then go down by the big rock.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
She's
she
gonna clean that up for us too.
she's gonna clean that up for us, and she's meeting with the shepherds.
Great.
And then she's gonna close in that area and then make it one contiguous piece.
Awesome.
So,
That's great.
all right. We signed all of the necessary documents for USDA for access to the $200,000 RBDG
Oh.
monies. We had to do that, I think.
So this is kind of an announcement, right?
Is it?
I think so.
Well, because.
Yeah, I guess we have a grant for $200,000 from RBDG USDA. And we also have a grant, which was, this could be another announcement on top of that. It's an announcement of old news. And $175,000 from the USDA, again, Community Facilities Program. And those monies can be lumped together along with the town's $200,000 or so match to be used for the swinging bridge.
Great.
Yeah, so that's quite a bit of money to start out with. I think we're gonna need a little bit more, and depending on what the bridge comes in at and what the engineering costs are. But we're gonna start the preliminary engineering once you guys approve, if you approve the agreements to spend $20,000 for that.
So basically that we were waiting on hearing on that 200,000, and it turned out that folks at USDA were working diligently to get that done for us. And so it's great.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah.
And the only other thing is we have to go in and thoroughly rewrite the scope of services for the $175,000 grant. What he wants us to do is specifically look at what was approved and then fold ours into that. Every step that's different, identify it as different and explain why, but go through the same steps that we went through before, so.
Is there a deadline on that?
I think I'm gonna work on it next week for a couple days.
That's a big project.
Hopefully it's not.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll only take.
There's really,
But that's all great news, because that means that totals to what, 575?
575, which
And that should be
hopefully will be
close.
close, but
I mean, we might need a little more, but there's,
in the VORIC grant,
there's a VORIC grant, but there's also V-Trans
Ellen
has
is
the
saying that's about
transportation.
70%. Where is she getting that info from?
But there's also a transportation alternatives grant through V-Trans that this project is exactly what they're aiming at. This type of thing, like pedestrian infrastructure and stuff like that,
Okay.
like infrastructure.
do you know, did they use the money from MBRC to do the bridge decks?
Yeah,
Because they were wondering, Eric Law was wondering today where that money was used.
yeah, that was NBRC grant that VAST had received originally for a western section of the LVRT. Turned out they weren't able to use it as planned. And so we were able to come up with local match through private donations to get those two bridges redecked and leverage that $200,000 NDRC grant. So that the trail is getting a fair amount of use. It's kind of surprising considering the surface isn't super great, but since the bridges are open, it's, it's enjoyable for walking and running for sure. Biking's a little bumpy. Sorry, I'm interrupting. Carry
I said
on.
I'm done.
Oh, good. Well done. All right, next road foreman report. I don't see Tom in his chair, so we're skipping over that. He's busy.
He's on vacation.
Is he on vacation?
No,
He's busy.
No, but he does volunteer in the fire department, so he's not always available.
Yeah.
He's the chief.
he's on vacation.
He is the chief of the fire
Oh,
department.
the other chief, I thought you were asking. Oh, never mind.
All right, so let's roll right to the Hardwick Electric report. We have Mike Sullivan here, so I've been biking out near the gravel pit, so I'm expecting to hear a report of the H11 in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
you're gonna hear it, but first things first.
All right.
Some of you may or may not have heard about the previous COVID arrearage assistance funds that were available, VCAP, and Hardwick Electric got pretty forward on it, and we actually contacted customers, we knocked on their doors, we put information flyers on their doors, and called them again, and really didn't have a lot of success with people applying and taking advantage of those dollars that were available. So the state has allotted VCAP 2 is now available.
The first one expired.
Yeah, it's all over, those monies were spent. And we did get some money through that program. People did take advantage of it, but could have done a lot more. Our rate areas could have done a lot more. So the new program offers up to $10,000 for a homeowner, anybody that's 30 days or more in the arrears, and up to $50,000 for the business, any business.
So I just want to stop you right there and say for anybody listening, this also applies to water and sewer.
Yes, it
It's a
does.
utility, so if anybody's behind on their electric bill or their water and sewer, they should be aware that there's state funding to help you get caught
A lot of
up.
money available, and it's a really simple process.
And if it's electric department, you should call the electric department. If it's water and sewer, you should call the town manager's office or the,
I disagree.
or,
The program being coordinated through the Vermont Department of Public Service.
okay,
They have all the contacts, so you can actually just click through everything right on their website.
okay, go
It's
to
real
the
easy.
Department of Public Service website.
And then, I'm sure you two are aware, we get an email or an alarm on our login there, and a new customer applied for this. We just say, yep, that's a good number, that is in arrears, and it's approved real easy. It's really working well.
Be super helpful if people take
Yeah.
advantage of that.
So, wanted to raise awareness about that. That said, H11.
Yeah.
So the H11 is complete and should have been online this past Tuesday. But Encore Redevelopment, the building company, it was early in their completion. They weren't due to be done until next month. And so their financiers have not given them permission to tie to the grid yet. Permission to operate, PTO, is not until September 20th. And somehow the way their insurance policies transfer and all that has to wait until September 20th. So here we sit wasting a month of sunshine that could have benefited our customers, but
Didn't lose much today.
no, not today. But it is all done. And my commissioners want to have a ribbon cutting ceremony, and you'll all be invited to that. So probably the 20th will be the day, so keep that on your radar.
Nice.
Everything went great. It's all, like I said, everything's ahead of schedule. I would say the only problem they ran into was some unexpected ledge up on the north end, maybe 80 yards from where the brook crosses up there. And they brought in a crew, separate crew, and just said, here, that part's your problem, and those guys banged it right out. And other than that, everything went right according to schedule, and hats off to the developer, they did a really good job.
How much will it generate?
It's going to create about 7 to 8% of our annual needs for all our customers.
And so, to put that in perspective, the Wolcott Dam is like 10 to 12? Yeah, so it's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. It's a 10-acre array, and it's pretty big. It's 3 times the size of the one in East Hardwick. I don't know if you've all seen that one or not, but it's pretty big.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, it's really nice. And it looks good too. It's pretty impressive. I had the guys go up in the bucket truck to take a picture of it, which I was gonna bring, but of course I forgot it.
Have you got the sheet ready to keep the grass down?
No, that's their problem. They could do that. I know they've been, somebody's been down there inspecting all the stuff for the water, for the rain and erosion and all that. And I know some companies are using goats in their facilities, but that's not, it's their problem to run it and maintain it. We just buy all the electrical attributes. So all in all, that's going to be probably once the rec credits offset the cost and everything, it's probably going to be our cheapest source of power, which is good for all our repairs. Okay, Wolcott, speaking of Wolcott, we're offline for our annual shutdown, 2 weeks in August. We always do that and go through the turbine, etc. The turbine job actually turned into quite a project because the braking system had failed that actually stops the unit. So the gates close, the blades close, the unit slows down, it trips offline, but there's always a little bit of water going through that keeps it doing this, literally this speed, and then you put the brakes on and it stops it. Well, those weren't working. They were leaking oil everywhere, made a big mess, so we had to clean all that up, split the generator in half, clean all the oil out of there. It's all a citrus bath you use. So that was all done. The normal annual shutdown work on the turbine and the generator went great. While we were shut down, we were doing the search tower foundation project as well that I've talked to you about a few times. And that project is removing all the deteriorated material underneath a 500,000-pound tub of water when it's operating. It only weighs about 35,000 when it's empty. But the guys are pounding all the loose concrete off, and the engineers had designed removing 4 to 6 inches of old deteriorated concrete, putting in all new reinforcing and then refacing everything. Unfortunately, the contractors went 12 to 14 inches deep and were still going. And everybody got worried about, whoa, what's going to happen here? So I got the line crew up there, and we put a bunch of anchors off the tower into the bedrock so it wouldn't tip over. And they did a bunch of pilot holes, test holes, according to the engineers, and they found out the depths to the hard stuff. And calculated that they could keep going, and they did. And this past Tuesday, they finished. They've beaten off all the loose stuff, and they're down to the hard stuff, and they're ready to start rebuilding. So we're probably 10 days behind schedule on that, but we're at the point where we're going to have to remove the tower, and that would have been a chore and probably double the cost of the project. So, knock on wood, things took a good turn there and got us back on track. So, but we are going to be offline for probably a month more than normal. So, okay. Year to date, our purchase power is almost exactly on budget. We're $1,000 under on 1.8 million. And the coverage ratio is at 91%, so purchase power is doing excellent. Year to date, our income is 8% over budget, and expenses are running about 15% under budget, but they won't be once I pay for all this hydro stuff. And our integrated resource plan. I've been getting a lot of questions about, what's AGD doing about this? What are you guys looking for that? What are your plans, 2 years down the road? And every 5 years, we have to file an integrated resource, 3 years, we have to file an integrated resource plan with the Public Utility Commission. And I'm steering people to that document. It's posted on the VEPSA website, vepsa.com, and it tells you anything and everything you want to know, from what our power portfolio is, to what our peak forecasts are, to outage statistics, to construction costs. Anything you want to know, it's in there. Pictures and everything. So anybody that has questions, check that out. It's at vepsa.com.
And you have a link to it from your website as well?
Right now, our website has some Joomla problems. So we did have a link up to it, but I had to shut that down because it was creating a security risk, and I have our network people working on it. So, but right now, if you want to see it, go right to vepsa.com, and it's right there under the Hardwick tab. With those said, I'll answer any questions.
You're doing work over there, I noticed. Sheetrock was coming out of the building.
Yeah, we're adding a bathroom downstairs. I don't know if you've ever seen the bathroom upstairs. It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That one's coming out, and a good one's going in.
Sometimes it's not good to have to run upstairs anyway, but.
Exactly.
On the same floor.
You know how that is. One thing, John, I'd like to catch up with you about is to just talk about the history of the bridge over at the warehouse property.
Oh, okay, yeah, I understand, yeah. Remember, I'm just trying to keep everybody down, over there on the end, down on the south end.
Yeah. So Tom condemned it. I went and looked at it. I totally agree with him. And I just want to find out the history of how, why, where, whatever, and then move forward.
All right.
Okay?
Eric, I have a question.
Sure. Oh, please state your name for the record.
I'm Bill Chitsey. I'm wondering about the late payments for utilities. I was wondering if the only way a citizen can access that is through the website, or is there a simpler or a way for someone who doesn't have online access?
I'm not sure, Bill. Everything I've seen is, links to the DPS site, but I'm sure if somebody doesn't have internet access or whatever, they can call the DPS and ask for the CAPI, C-A-P-I division. It's the Consumer Affairs, and they have a whole team of people in there that can help.
Well, that is helpful, because I do run into low-income people who don't have that, or elderly, and they could be the most likely group that is having problems.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Good point.
Thank you.
I think the question too, I think that was a few months ago probably. You had mentioned the HED putting in an EV station at your facility. Is there an update on that? You got a lot going on, but
What?
you've got a lot going on, obviously.
No, we did the preparation. So the circuit running outside is there. There's a disconnect set up, and it's actually at the edge of the retaining wall behind the office. And the end of September, a contractor's coming in to redo that whole retaining wall. So I didn't want to put the station in and then rip it out and then have to put it back in. So we're waiting until he's done with the wall, and then it'll be in there.
So theoretically October.
Yeah, this fall will be in there.
I have another car EV charging question.
Yeah.
We talked a while back about that state program that had 5 towns that have you heard anything about anybody coming into Hardwick with that program?
I had 2 different companies asking about where they could get 3-phase power access, and I answered all the inquiries that I received, and then that was probably, I think the most recent one was at least a month ago, and I haven't heard anything since.
Well, Because the people were asking.
But people were digging into it, yeah.
Okay. And the other question I had, I missed our last meeting, but I understand there were folks from the Communication Union District, the NEK broadband here, and they're talking about stringing fiber, and I imagine you guys are you planning to be a partner in that and helping them get on poles and that kind of thing?
So they came and met with us as well, but I think the meeting before they met with you, our regular meeting before the one they met with you.
Yeah.
And we had a great chat, and they were really just looking for us to say, yeah, we support what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think we are in a position to do more than that, because I've been looking at mapping our system for 2 years now, and went from an original bid of almost $200,000 to have that done, which I said, no, we're not doing that, down to about $20,000 via a LiDAR project. And LiDAR is a laser from above that actually can identify right down to the wire going down the street, as long as it's not blocked by trees and stuff. So for about $20,000, this LiDAR project can locate all our poles and wires within 3 feet. Not all, 80% of all our poles and wires within 3 feet, and then we just have to get to 20%. So depending on how these CUDs land with their stuff, for example, the Washington County one said, we're doing it.
Yeah.
Just let you know we're doing it. If there's any special data you want, let us know, we'll get it. Okay, great. So they're not looking for us to participate. But we are in a position to do that because we need to do it anyway. So if this LiDAR thing can help them, that was the discussion we primarily focused on with Halquist and the rest of them. But the new lady that took over is the interim until they get a new permanent replacement for Christine. She and I haven't connected yet. We've been playing email tag. So I don't know where they are at, but I think things are going to kind of go slow until they get a permanent replacement.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. All right. I'm gonna roll us along. Next is Select Board to sign off on VCDP, Vermont Community Development Program policies for the Yellow Barn Grant, previously signed, but some updated language. Thanks. So, basically, we have to this is certifying we have town policies that comply with the VCDP requirements, is that right? I think that's what I read.
This is it right here, right?
That's the back page, the signature page, yeah.
Yeah.
But the whole policy or the whole thing is in your packet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like kind of standard stuff.
Right, I think it is just trying to say that we don't discriminate and...
We signed all these things
No
before.
texting while driving.
Yeah, it's just an updated.
Yeah.
So is there any, it mentions some new updated language, is there any, it's kind of hard to tell which is updated. Is there anything big that's updated or just kind of small edits to it?
I don't think they're baiting and switching anything in there.
Okay. I figured, just wanted to make sure.
Could be under the texting while driving policy.
Yeah.
Okay. Could we have a motion to sign off on the Vermont Community Development Program policies?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's everyone, so motion carries. Next is item 2, Select Board to discuss and consider appointing Bill Chidsey, is it Chidsey?
Correct.
To become the town's energy coordinator, and I know you sent us a letter of interest, and it was a little while back, and it's in here, because I just saw it. But would you like to just introduce yourself and give a very brief introduction about why you're interested in
that side, don't do that.
why you're interested in the
Well,
energy?
first I want to thank everyone here for your service to town, and I feel so strange being in this village and not attending a select meeting before now, but the COVID seemed like a serious subject to me. And Zoom,
All of us, yeah.
Zoom doesn't seem to go very well with me. We have Efficiency Vermont trainings now that have all gone to Zoom. They're just not the same. So I also want you to know that I am fresh off of caretaking for my elderly mother who passed in January, and it was a blessing. Everything worked fine, but I am finding myself now with some time in life, having passed the daily parenting regimen about 4 decades ago, when my kids are active and healthy adults, but they don't live in New England anymore. I have been building a reputation and relationships with the VCAN organization and the town energy committees for volunteering, as well as with my heating work with Efficiency Vermont programs. So I feel like I'm ready. I would be overjoyed to just join and volunteer and participate in an ongoing committee, but I'm not exactly sure where that stands with town. I did meet Nancy.
Yeah, I believe Nancy's just too busy, and so it's kind of faltered.
She loaned me her scrapbook. I should pass it around.
She gave it to you, I believe.
I promise
Pretty sure she gave it to you.
I promise I would not lose it nor have it get damaged.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to build on from that. And I have some ideas of my own because I'm a practical person. I'm a hands-on leader that likes to be right in there and get things done. So if you haven't found my letter, I do have a copy of it.
Yeah.
It spells out 3 priorities that I see that could be implemented right away. And I would also listen and take notes and start a regular attendance so that I could hear from the select board what individuals or citizens are asking for from an energy committee. It's important to me to include other people and to rebuild that team, and I don't think it will take long.
So you want a motion to appoint Bill as the Hardwick Energy Action Resource? Well, the title is
Hardwick
Energy Coordinator, right?
Correct.
It's gonna take a lot of energy to put this together.
Is that a motion, Sherry?
He's got it. Yeah, that's a motion.
I'll second that motion.
John. Sorry, did
You
you?
got a motion and a second.
Okay, any discussion?
It's great. I'm glad that you
We need to vote,
surfaced and-
Sherry.
Yeah, it's all good. We got to vote?
Not yet.
Glad that you have the enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And you have the power to appoint them.
So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
Go to your
opposed,
room.
motion carries. Yeah, thank you very much, Bill, for coming forward, because I feel that this is, I think it's a position that requires somebody who's interested in starting, like, getting in there and figuring out what's useful to do and, starting from that level, because we don't really have a slate of things for the energy coordinator to start off on.
Self-starter.
Self-starter, there we go.
Well, I'd like to also add is that I am not against fossil fuels. In fact, I hold a CDL hazmat and have delivered orders. I just don't like to waste money or energy or precious resources, because I believe every community is doing their best, and why waste? So I know there are energy committees where there's more of a climate change political direction, and I support that. I'm glad people are voicing that, but I tend to be more to the practical side of it, which is especially with people in need and seniors. And also nonprofits too. We have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So I would ask, is there an individual that I can turn to have a regular monthly meeting and to make sure that I understand open meeting rules properly? Just, it would be helpful for me if you could identify someone that I can turn to. Perhaps Casey is the one, I just don't know.
I mean, Nancy knows a lot about that, but yeah, she doesn't have much time.
Well, it seems like we also need to set up an email, if there's not one already, for an energy.
Oh, that's a good idea too.
And all the web, yeah.
And since it's been an open position, we should add it to the website, which is a Maya. It seems like maybe, I don't know if I'm wrong in this, Amanda, but
Little
going
bit
to
of
Casey to
coordinating.
see who can do what, or at least connect Bill and Mike to Maya and whoever else.
Get the updates.
And you can put,
Amanda's nodding like she knows how to do this.
and you can put the notice on the website that you're looking for people to be on the committee. I think that's a good way to
Right.
start. Maybe
Do
something
a little,
front
yeah.
porch forum as well.
But as far as, I mean, I feel like we're in the middle of a couple things right now, so if it's after, at least.
After we get a
at
new
least
town manager
After
in
we get a new
place.
town manager would be ideal.
I was waiting for them to say, town manager should do that.
Soon as we get rid
And I'm
of
like,
him.
no, they're not gonna say that right now.
Yeah, normally that would
Because
be.
that won't be here the month you wanna meet.
Our
That's the day.
go-to person to help you with
Maya
that.
is usually pretty quick about setting up.
Yes.
Yeah, but in questions about open
Right.
meeting or connecting with the select board and all that stuff, we would normally punt that to the town manager, but since John's just interim,
Interim.
then,
I think I was thinking in my mind how some sort of an invitation or welcoming community members sometime in mid-September or later in September would be perfect to get going. We have Button Up coming, which is a statewide. I'm registered for that training next week. It's a Zoom meeting. But I was thinking how coming into the Button Up would be a positive and timely way to at least get some enthusiasm without taxing anyone that much. I just wanted to be able to act appropriately and with proper authority.
so you should feel free to reach out to us. All our emails should be on the website or the town. Yeah, the town manager's office is, like Amanda or Casey is often a more direct path if you have something you want to get done, like today. But if you just want to connect about, coordinating something for the future, feel free to reach out to me or anybody else on the select board.
And the Vermont League of Cities and Towns does provide some training on open meeting law.
That's where I have got my information
Yeah.
today. And I have participated in some of their annual meetings. There's a familiarity there for myself. I would be willing to, on my own time, participate in the future in behalf of the town.
Great.
And you can contact our office if you're interested in doing that.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'd like to stay for the rest of the meeting.
You definitely should. That's yeah.
We're not gonna throw you out.
In October, one of the October meetings, it's budget season too, which is a little tricky for us, but maybe we can remember to add an update from Bill.
Yep.
In
October. That'd be
Or-
good.
And hopefully we'll have a new town manager then.
Before then.
Before
Jeez.
Heck, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Bill. I'm going to move us on. Item 3 is select board to consider startup funding for the downtown commission in the amount of $5,000. This is a request that Sherry Cornish can elaborate on.
I can. So we are working on a few different things in addition to the main project is doing the application for downtown designation. I did a training or a part of the webinar yesterday about the municipal planning grant that we would potentially try to get to help have NVDA help us with the downtown designation application, because there are some details there that they can help us with. And we're embarking on organizing nonprofit status, so there's some fees and things related to that. I just wanted the group to have some money for fees and things like that. It doesn't necessarily need to be $5,000. Initially, I thought that we would, because the Downtown Commission had a donation, we'll say, to create the banner and to do some of the work around the event for the bridge. And so just being able to do some of those things more freely and have a little budget. It can be half that. I don't know how much it costs to do the filing for, I've been getting varying answers on filing for nonprofit status, so, yeah.
So my only question is, so we had talked way back about, so we haven't yet, just so I understand the process, we haven't yet officially applied or in the process of applying for downtown designation, or we're not even there yet. We're forming the nonprofit and then apply. I just want to understand.
We're forming the nonprofit alongside, but part of that application is that you have to do a strategic plan that involves whether or not you're going to have a nonprofit and do the budget for that and all of that planning. So it's sort of parallel projects, yeah.
But the municipal planning grant, the intent of that is to cover
Is to cover paying Allison to help us with the other application things that have to do with the water and sewer regulations and some of the other things that are kind of over our heads, technically.
Is there a line in the budget we should take this out of?
I looked at it, I looked at a whole bunch of today, I'm like, just grab it out of where? It's like, everything is earmarked for a particular reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could look at what underspent it, but some things that are underspent are gonna be underspent because they haven't requested payment on it too.
The only thing I thought of was that the position that we have for a grant writer is not being used, that part-time amount that's allotted for that is not being paid out because that
So
person is
come out of
not
there.
working part-time.
Yeah.
So
And what about our downtown improvement line? That is pretty small.
it's pretty minuscule, but
if we
also, we talked about trying to do things. I wrote a grant to NEK Funds for a Community Foundation to try to do new banners, and we just haven't heard back about that yet. So
just so I understand what the money is for, so it's for possible fees to create a nonprofit, and then we're creating a nonprofit because that's normally how you apply for downtown designation, or is it?
it's one of the ways, and
Okay.
it's the way that the Downtown Commission would prefer to.
That's what they encourage. the
Okay.
downstairs.
Encourage creating a separate organization.
Okay.
That isn't a town thing, but also having some support from the town leverages, that we have that.
But it seems like
See that today, it's like,
correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like establishing the nonprofit probably isn't gonna run over $1,000.
I don't know. I mean, some people say it's like, yeah, it might not. It might not.
It depends on is there a fee to establish it, like with the Secretary of State's
I
office?
don't think so. I mean, if it is,
You do
it's,
have to
small.
register
There's
it. but
There are
it's
some
small.
fees.
Yeah,
yeah.
and then setting it up, you
Might
can
go
either go through a
$50.
lawyer, which would charge you more, or you can go through a good accountant who can also set it up for you. At least that's what they do for C Corps and things
Yeah,
like that.
and you have to pay for that stuff.
Yeah, it's not that expensive to go
That's all.
through an accountant.
I mean,
So it's just for fees, it's not for anything with NVDA, they're covering that portion of it?
yeah, we don't
Okay.
have to do anything with that.
We get an awful lot from
get a
NVDA
lot.
for what we pay in.
Yeah.
We're talking about that today, they've been helping this town a lot.
So I'm wondering if it makes sense to, I don't know what else it comes out of downtown improvement money that's already earmarked. But does it, since we don't know exactly what the fees are, does it make sense to say fees can come out of that fund? If there's anything more than what's already in that fund, we can approve, or can we,
I can run down and get the
There
budget if you want me to. I was gonna bring it up and I forgot it. What?
There isn't even $1,000 for downtown improvement. I mean.
No, it's not much. I think it's like 1,100. It used to be around 1,100 because that's what banners
Potted
cost.
flowers and stuff like that. It's not much, but.
But what about, and Jeff hasn't been spending any of his money really except for
Right, because
the
he's
minutes.
focused on his brewery, so he's not doing much, he's not putting in many hours.
Do you know what
for
his
us.
budget is?
His budget is, the budget for that position, I want to say is 30, 25, 30.
So you should be able to squeeze.
28,000.
You should be able to squeeze some money out of there, 2,500 bucks out of there.
so if we could move, I don't know why, but I feel better about moving more money at downtown improvement and then having whatever requests come get paid by,
Out of that line item.
out of that line item. And then that can just come through the business office and we can just get updated if,
That makes sense.
so we need to, so it sounds like, and then if it's in the line item, if there are other projects that need to come out of that money, we'll still have that money in there to do that. I don't know what else comes out of that line item.
Downtown improvement,
It's like,
I don't know, the flowers and all that stuff come out of there? I think
Usually they
Little
come
stuff
and
like
get
that.
reimbursed for the flowers and
Yeah.
stuff, and they used to pay for the
Trash
rope
cans.
lights on the
yeah.
bridge, or,
Yeah,
things like
those are just
that.
extra things that people
Plus
would come
small
up to you and
things.
ask
Holiday
you for.
decorations.
Like flowers or, we give Claudia pool money every year, and the folks that do the bridge flowers, and we made it $1,100, I think, because banners were right around that cost, and for years before that, we had no money in there. Was that?
That was just 1 year, and that established going forward.
And
kind
we
of-
bought 4 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
We bought some.
They haven't been purchased for
No, I don't.
quite a long time.
At least for a couple of years.
Try like 8.
So, okay, so your proposal is to move
$4,000 from,
4.
right? Because that's, if there's one in there. And then you can
Well-
always ask for more if you need, right?
Or use some of that money first, right, yeah.
Or
Whichever.
use, either we could use the 1,100 that's in there, and then if there's more needed, we can approve that, or we could motion to move basically the equivalent of $5,000 into that fund.
Or $2,500.
Or 20, right, or any amount.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to leave some of that money in that's already in there for
Because it's already
things that may show up that you didn't know about.
Yeah.
Like, we probably would have bought some of the highway directional barricades out of there if we'd purchased like,
We've done that.
if we'd purchased different ones than just using a Jersey barrier.
Oh, I
The
heard
Jersey
some,
barrier was cheap.
I heard some
effective.
positive feedback on that.
I've heard so much. I could have put the most beautiful thing in there in the whole world, and I wouldn't have got the feedback we've got on that Jersey barrier.
People
and
love
that,
it.
And that trash can sign in front of it. People love it.
It's okay, it works.
So I'll
works
second
for now.
Kaylee's motion to move $4,000 into the downtown improvement
From,
from the
Community
unspent
development
community
for-
development fund. So Sherry can access that for this
Just in
process.
case we need to.
yeah.
Okay.
4,000? All right. I would go with 2,500. 4. All right,
You can vote against it.
I can. That's true.
Not gonna do much good, but
It won't do me much
you
good.
might feel better.
And no, I'm just thinking that we potentially do want, it may not, if Jeff doesn't have the bandwidth, we still have some, like, we might want to be applying for the Transportation Alternatives Grant. We might have some grant writing that we need done. If Jeff can do it, great. If he can't, we may be hiring somebody else. I just, a little bit hesitant to drain that.
Let's make it, so I guess.
You already have a
the
motion out
actual-
there.
You have a motion, it's
Oh,
second.
sorry.
Can you modify
You
it?
could
I can modify that motion.
You could move to modify your
I
motion.
guess I would feel more comfortable making a motion if I knew exactly how much, which might,
Which what?
So Jeff has been working part-time, super part-time for,
He's probably been logging less than an hour a week, I would guess.
Or less, some weeks he doesn't log any.
and we have, so we have 28,000 in that.
For a year.
Okay.
Our year only started on July 1, and so we're only, whatever, a month and a half into it.
So there's inevitably at least $25,000 in there or more.
Yeah.
So I'd
Yeah.
like to modify the motion to be 2,500. If there's more needed, we can always discuss that later. So I make the motion to approve to move $2,500 from the
So
community
you're
development.
amending your
I'm
previous
amending my
motion.
previous motion.
Yeah.
I'm moving to move $2,500 from the community development position into the downtown improvement line item
For use by the
downtown commission.
That's needed. Does anybody want to second that amendment to the motion?
I'll second that.
More discussion? All in favor of approving the amendment to the motion, please say aye.
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 I can vote, right? It's
It's
okay.
okay with me.
Aye.
Okay. There, now so that we have the motion as amended is to move the 2,500 from the downtown coordinator position to the downtown improvement fund. All in favor of doing that, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's everyone, motion carries. Thank you, sorry that it's tedious.
That tired me out.
I know, you're probably all worn out now. And thank you, Sherry, for continuing that process and let us know
Well, and
if there are more
the
needs.
anonymous donor thanks you as well
And we should
for not
build
making them
in,
pay for more stuff.
we should build in some money in the budget when we get around.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we get there.
Okay.
She won't forget.
I know, I'm just saying. Okay, item 4 is select board to discuss and consider approval of the identified fee, which is $20,000, and scope of services for architectural work and engineering work on the Swinging Bridge replacement project. Also discuss and consider approval of preliminary survey by Little River Survey for $2,000. So this, we have
Oh,
some.
no, there isn't, no.
We had stuff in our
Yeah.
online drive, and we have stuff in our packet regarding the,
The last page of your handout just shows a breakout of land works and
Yes.
engineering ventures, projected costs,
yeah,
and a few things may be cut out of there, limited to a certain extent, because there's one section in here that deals a little bit with the park, and I don't necessarily think that shouldn't be coming out of this amount, this money. It should be coming out of another pool of money, because it's a little confusing.
yeah, at some point, we have to decide if the whole, how interconnected the park is with the bridge replacement.
I think it should be separate.
Because they're probably gonna move at different speeds.
Yeah, should be separate.
Well,
In order
needless
to
say,
allow
that's kind of a later discussion, right?
Well, yeah, just,
Or does it need to be a part of tonight's?
Well, it's in, so there's some money in the, it's probably not a big deal
Item
because,
4, there's $1,750.
oh yeah, so it's pretty small compared to our $600,000 project.
right.
Yeah.
So I just
And then that-
identified 20,000 because that's essentially what it is for their work, and this is all preliminary engineering work. We need engineering, and we need some architectural design to present to the people who are funding the project, so they can see where it's gonna happen, and then the bridge designers are gonna wanna see that too. It's gonna give them a little bit more information. So that's, yeah, I recommend that, and then on top of that, I don't know if you wanna do as a joint sort of motion, but we need to do a topographical survey, and I believe the cost for that survey was going to be $2,000 by Little River, and we didn't hire like Sunwise to do it because she doesn't do topographical surveys.
Actually doesn't.
That's what she said. And I'm not sure if that's in here or not.
Yeah, survey area.
There it is, right there, $2,000. So, and that, I would hope, would give us a flood elevation as well, so we could figure that one out.
Well, give us the elevations. Yeah.
Just gotta figure out what the floodwaters are.
Well, hopefully they'll put that on there.
Yeah.
We can ask.
Yeah.
The
for them to
Coast
put
Guard
on.
will tell us.
So that'll help,
Maybe the Coast Guard will tell us.
Okay.
that'll help answer some questions to the Army Corps, the
Yeah.
Coast Guard,
Yeah,
and.
Everybody who needs to be involved.
Right.
or thinks they need to be involved. They might not think they need to be involved so much after getting some more data. We hope. So I
Right.
just would like to add to the conversation that I did, well, John and I had some email correspondence with, what's that firm?
Landworks or
No,
with,
the bridge people,
Contact.
just asking about the prefab bridges and what do you do? And I was confused because I thought that since they build the bridge and they have engineering staff and all that, that this would be redundant. Because if we ended up going with a firm like that, they would have all these services. But the guy wrote back and clarified and said, no, actually, we would rely, you need to hire somebody to do design and
Right.
engineering, and then you
Right.
bring those plans to us, we go over it, we work with them, we build it, and even, they don't even install it. Like, we need to have a contractor.
Somebody like blowing Cody or the
Yeah,
guys
so we
who were
would
up
go-
here with the crane.
We would go out to bid
Drop
for a
it.
contractor to do it, and then, so basically, this is it's the next step that needs to happen. And we now have the grant funds approved, which we didn't have at our last meeting, so.
So the fees for this $20,000 is the ask, John, for that to come out of the 200 that we already,
It doesn't matter where it comes out of because once you put all that money in a pot, you're never gonna pick it apart.
right.
So just say out of the.
Some of it's gonna get
So
reimbursed.
this is like our first expense
Out of the bridge
project.
fund.
Right, so I would just say, just take it out of the money that's being set aside for the for replacement of the swinging bridge, because that's gonna be under one account.
So, but do we want a motion that authorizes the town manager to enter into a contract for these services?
Yes.
Did I put that in there?
You did not,
I did
I'm
not,
asking.
because first of all, when I wrote this, I was still debating on, I had written a contract for the town to do using the town contract form, but then I looked at the USDA document that we had, where we utilized some money out of that grant for $175,000 from community development, and whoever had completed that one had used a form from USDA. So of course I asked USDA, should we be using your contract or our contract? And the person I talked to today said, I don't care what contract you use. And I said, well, it's awful funny that says RD 1942-19, that's yours. And he goes, it's not necessarily mine. And so we have another USDA funder, so now I put a call into them and I'm waiting for them to get back to me so I can find out if we can use the contract, and so I didn't do it. But you could say, allow John to enter into a contract with...
these services.
For these services
those.
with Landworks, Vermont Engineering Ventures, and Little River Survey. So moved.
So, indeed. Second.
Sounds great.
Any more discussion on that?
No.
All in favor, please say aye.
Glad we're at
Aye.
this place. Aye.
All right, that's everyone, right? No nays.
My
Motion.
only logistical question, it's really quick, is we had previously said that $200,000 is going to come out of the general fund. I just want to
Or
make sure.
fund balance.
Or fund balance.
balance.
I just want to make sure it doesn't tap into Tom's, it wouldn't go into his budget at all, right?
No, and the other thing is, practically speaking, what's probably gonna happen is Casey's there's gonna be a bill that's coming in, she's gonna pay it out of something, and then she's gonna submit for reimbursement through these grants, so it's not even like.
We do this all the time.
We won't touch the fund balance money until the very
End of the
end.
year.
It's like everything with the yellow barn and all of that stuff.
Well,
Okay.
and that's true, that's a really
Maybe
good
it's
point,
a bad
that's a good
example.
point to make. Because a lot of times what we do, like when we did that whole water meter project and the reservoir and everything, we paid everything up front to get reimbursed, but the town will carry like $1 million or more of working money.
Right.
And some towns actually carry, I think Hardwick carries more than that. Some towns take that money and actually put it in the bank and try to get interest out of it. Now they don't so much, but, and let that carry through the summer or 6 months or something like that. But we have that kind of money in there because we also collect the school taxes come through our accounts and everything else, which we have to give that money to the school, 4 times a year? So the town has
Cash on hand.
cash
Yeah.
to do that with. It doesn't mean it's their cash forever, but it's cash that's there that's going through and we're just gonna fill it back in again. That's what we do.
Great.
And these are reimbursable grants, so you have to spend up front first.
Awesome.
Good question, though.
Some
Really?
towns operate with
Loans.
loans.
Because they're in
Yeah, they
debt.
have to take
because they
out
don't-
loans.
They don't do a good job collecting their taxes.
Take loans in anticipation of taxes.
They try to get too close to the
Hardwick
loan.
used to.
Really?
Yeah. I've run into any number of things in the old newspapers, 30s and 40s newspapers that...
Hard
that-
times.
Well, the 30s were, the 40s,
Were better,
not so much,
yeah.
yeah. But it was just the way they operated, was that the town would approve that they could borrow money in anticipation of taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure when that changed, but I think it's a great change.
I think the town has worked diligently, at least I know while I was here, but I think before that, to
And
put money into
before, yeah,
put money
before
into
that.
the capital accounts.
Yeah.
And the capital accounts, if you think about it, those capital accounts are a lot of money just waiting for projects.
Yeah.
And so you can utilize that cash on hand for other
And
projects.
it's also leveraging for
Yeah.
other grant writing.
Yep.
Being able to show that you have that to
Yeah.
put towards a project.
All right. Well, that's great to get the bridge thing moving on to the next step. You never know, one year we might actually replace the bridge. All right, so next is item 5, and I wrote down select board to discuss the police department, but John had a much longer intro to this. So go ahead, give it to us again.
Select board to discuss and consider authorizing the town manager to begin contracting for services to provide police department staffing due to staffing shortfalls caused by officer attrition.
So basically, we've had enough officer attrition that we think it'd be worthwhile to go out and contract for services, maybe for just the overnight on-call.
Well, right now, because Officer Leho's leaving, and what that does is it's shortening up an already short staff, and we cover on-call 12 to 8. And in doing that,
That's midnight to 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in doing that, people have to be on call to be available to come in. And it is kind of tiring for them to work a shift and have to think about getting called in and everything. And so it makes the night kind of short for a lot of people. And I don't think they can continue to do that over time. It's not fair to ask it of them.
Not enough guys up there.
Right, so I would like to be able to contract for services to cover that shift with other departments.
Have you or Aaron identified who those departments might be? I think he mentioned Lamoille.
Yeah.
Lamoille probably would be the primary source.
There could be others.
There could be others.
Close.
So that'll be it'll be like kind of bid out, or it'll just be a conversation about.
There'll be a conversation about who can do it. And we would request pricing for that.
Yeah.
And Aaron's gonna be back on Monday, so John will be able to work with him.
Or do we need to, we've already, voters approved the budget already,
Right.
so we don't necessarily need to approve the pricing of that, right? As
No,
long
we
as-
don't even have it yet.
We don't,
So all we need to do is, I think it's really just
Get
to,
it.
Is go forward with the authority to say, okay, let's talk numbers and put together a contract and see if we can make it happen.
I'd like to motion that we authorize John to go forward and look at contracts for the 12 to 8 on-call time for the police department.
Why don't you just say for
explore contracts for.
short staffing of the department, to fill short.
Just say so much.
You don't want to nail yourself down to a particular
Because what if it
timeline.
comes out to like they want to cover, somebody wants to only cover from midnight to 6, or they
I'd
want
like to
to.
motion that John go forward to explore,
That one. Want me to read it?
yes,
Okay, so the motion would be, the select board to discuss and consider authorizing, or would authorize the town manager to begin contracting for services to provide police department staffing due to staffing shortfalls caused by officer attrition.
So moved.
second.
That leaves it a little more open, so
Yeah.
somebody might want to cover day shifts, or we could lose some more officers, which I expect there's a likelihood. And I talked to the state's attorney today, and she said there's a number of departments are going through the same thing in small towns.
So just need some flexibility in order, and we'll very likely hear back from you, like, we would have to engage, like, we'd come back to us probably with pricing and everything when we get down to it.
Yes, and we could call a special meeting if this, because it's kind of important to get this
For the
taken care
town,
of.
yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, John.
So, excellent, motions on the table, any more discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's everyone, so motion carries. Thank you for working on that, John. Next is select board reports.
I have one.
I know, I saw you making notes.
Well, I have, so the townhouse has things happening this weekend. Tonight is the final chamber players concert. Tomorrow, for the season. Yeah, we can't hear it, can we? And the open house Saturdays continue through the end of August, so the 21st and the 28th is open house Saturdays from 10 to 2. The Mirror Theater is presenting The Diary of Anne Frank, August 20th and 21st. Their shows at 7 p.m. August 22nd, there's a 2 p.m. matinee, that's Sunday. There's also a first-run movie called The Son of the South. Apparently, a person with Vertical Entertainment, which is the producer of that movie, that's out in movie theaters in other parts of the country. So they got special ability to show it on Sunday evening, 7 p.m. at the Townhouse. The Neck Arts is excited because it'll be the first use of our now rigged movie screen. So it's hanging from the front pipe and it gets lowered and it's not like on those weird legs anymore, and it's actually kind of like a real movie thing.
The curtains open up.
Like, sort of exciting. Don't start. And then, yeah, and then that's kind of our big hurrah for this summer, but there's a few other things happening, but that's exciting, right?
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
we had a coin drop last week in that deluge of rain. We were out there
Wow.
and we had a pretty good, not as good as other years, but it was okay. Yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I
Other select board.
I have one too. So the Equity Committee continues to meet the first Monday. And we've had a lot of committee members working on, Ritu and Lucian have been working on going through the town website and materials to highlight areas that we might want to consider adjusting or adding to. So we'll be presenting that to probably the town office first and then to the select board in the next couple months. We're also working on, we've had some professional development for our group through a group called Building Better Futures, but then we're also working on some professional development options to present for town employees, various committees, and also the select board. So we're working on that right now. And we also, Audrey Grant, who has been a great addition to the group, is going to college, actually in person, so she'll be stepping down from the committee. So I just wanted to thank her for her time.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks, Audrey.
That's it.
Thanks, Kaylee. Any other select board reports?
Nothing from me.
All right, old business, I have two.
I have
I have one.
potentially a new business question.
Okay,
So
oh, sorry, I skipped new business.
we
Go
were
ahead.
meeting in here last night, the townhouse board was, because they were rehearsing over there, and nobody knows what the Wi-Fi access is in this building. It's kind of hard. Can we post that, the guest access or something?
have a guest- what's our guest one?
When we're meeting in this building, like, it would just be helpful to be able to,
Texted me.
normally you go to other places. Yeah, I'm not gonna say what my text responses were to my two textees. But normally, you go to an office, like, I go to the solid waste district, for a meeting, and then I can, they have a little sign on, and this is our Wi-Fi access, or
We
you
should
go to
probably have
the
an
car
open-
dealership, and this is our Wi-Fi access,
We should probably create a public Wi-Fi access for,
I've never used the Wi-Fi access here for guests or even for the regular
Do you want to know what it is?
Wi-Fi.
is there a guest
I
one?
use HCTVs. There's that long. There, I could never even write it down.
Yeah, because Comcast tells you that you can't change
Get
it.
through it.
But that's not, I mean, I'm talking about a public access, so
we could
that
create
when
one.
people are here in meetings or in
Yeah, yeah.
trainings or
There is a
anything.
guest account.
Yeah,
It's capital Hardwick, capital H Hardwick, dash, capital G guest. And the password, I think, is the same thing.
my request is that we actually post that in the meeting rooms, so that I don't have to remember it
She
to
wrote
be
to me
able
and
to
I
tell
said-
people.
You know, I
we just
logged
post
in
it?
twice on it, and I'm still logged in. I've been logged in for 10 years.
Hey, I'm logged in because, but it doesn't show me what it is when I go to look.
Same here, so I couldn't help
So
you.
I couldn't help the people who needed it, like, because,
Yes, so we
you know,
can- we
our
can-
secretary
yes,
takes the
we
minutes
can
on
do it.
Google Docs, and
Yep.
if he can't get online, then we
Got
gotta
it.
write
You have
the
to use a
minutes.
pen and a
Yes, got
pencil
it.
or
We
a
can-
paper.
And that's a pain in the butt.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you.
We're right on
Anybody
it.
else have new business?
We're on it.
No, but I got old business.
I'm gonna throw Vorak in new business.
Yeah,
So
About
we're
Vorak.
working, we have a group of folks, including Sherry Cornish, me, Helen Beatty, working on,
and Allison Lowe.
and Allison Lowe from NVDA, working on the
Great.
Vorak grant application and the whole concept of Vorak is Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic something.
Committee?
No.
Council?
Collaborative? I don't know.
Collaborative.
We don't know what it is. But anyway, the idea is to connect businesses to the recreation economy, or the recreation people to the businesses. And anyway, so we're working on a proposal this round to, in anticipation of the LVRT getting built out next year, to better connect folks from the rail trail to our downtown businesses. And there are,
How much is available?
so I think there's 5-point-something million available. There is no,
5.1 million available, and there's no match.
There's no match, and
required.
there's
They're
no-
going to give 25 grants.
there's also no maximum ask. You can ask for the whole 5
No
million if you
maximum.
want.
Yeah. So Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economic Collaborative is what it stands for.
And so what are we applying for?
We are applying for the project or the.
Do we know
Okay,
the
so.
project?
A lot of
yeah,
stuff.
There's a lot of stuff. So there are
5 pillars.
components, there are components in East Hardwick to do rest stop on the rail trail and connection to like wayfinding to businesses and to a connection to the river.
The little, what do you call it, out Overlook Park.
And then there's also connection
The
here
Hardwick Trails.
to Hardwick Trails, from the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail, creating wayfinding to bring people down to the Daniels Building side of the swinging bridge, where we included in this proposal is the park concept that came up at the bridge visioning session. So this is a way we could possibly fund that.
Another like covered bike parking and
Pavilion with picnic tables and Wi-Fi, and it's the whole dream, more green space.
And then there's a connection to the Hazen program for bike repair and tuning or something potentially.
Correct.
It's a lot, but,
And the way that the grant works is we have to submit a letter of intent by the end of next week. And then a month later, we'll hear whether or not we're invited to submit a full application.
Like USDA, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
a big, huge thank you to Helen Beatty, who's been willing to really work on this, like, in a real
And then
committed kind of way.
Allison
And
has
Allison
said,
has been helping, and
and if we get invited back to write a grant, she's gonna help, Allison's gonna help us with that.
That's fantastic.
So, but in terms of like, so that's a lot of like what the project is. But in general, it's connecting trail users to our businesses.
it's
I was-
all about that outdoor
and the school.
recreation.
And we still haven't finalized what we think the budget needs to be, but the budget can be a little bit rough because it's just a letter of intent.
Awesome.
All right. any other new business?
I want to figure out where we do the charter change thing, because we started talking
That's
about
old
it and then we didn't, well, we haven't gone forward, so we need to put it on a future agenda.
Yep.
In the soon future,
Okay.
because we know we need to do that for the listers. We have other stuff.
Yep.
Do we need to, can we direct John to check in with Bill or whoever needs to help with that, or we don't really need that?
We should look at him.
I'm thinking on this because a lot of it's really simple language. I looked around to see other, so obviously to steal information from other towns, see how they did it. And you can't find any information anywhere. So I think the Vermont League of Cities and Towns would be the first group that we would talk to on that. But it's pretty simple. I mean, you can
Like,
choose to eliminate, and you could just eliminate or delete the listers, completely out of your charter.
But there are other positions we should consider.
Yeah.
And I had that whole list of those, and there is a process. What happens is that select board can do it on its own, or it can go through a step where community members could bring forward the same petition, but the select board can choose to do it. And you have to have, I'm just doing this from memory, you have to have a couple of public hearings where you ask people to go and make comments on those steps and those moves. Some people may be agreeable, some people may not be agreeable, but you listen to them and you make a public process, and afterwards it's select board's decision of what they want to do.
And then it goes to the legislature. So it is a whole process. So,
Yep.
and because it's a process with public hearings and sending to the legislature, if we have more than just the listers that we want
Right.
to change, we should do it.
But when you get around to do it, I wonder,
it all at
I think
once.
you have to do a final, when you make final improvements, you approve going ahead with that, I believe that there has to be a town-wide vote. That's why a lot of times they hold this, wait till town meeting, but you could do it, have a meeting, I mean, you could have a town-wide meeting earlier than that, but I talked with Alberta about it this week, and she said if you're gonna do that, you should hurry, because,
It takes a while to put together. Yeah.
and she said she wouldn't mind doing it. I think that she would rather we wait till March, but if you want to do it sooner, we got to just decide. If you want to do it sooner, you could just say, ask her to do it sooner, and
Well, it
then
would
go
be
for it.
easier for the budget to do it sooner, so that we don't have to have things in the budget, like for the listers
we're
or whatever,
eliminating.
that aren't even gonna go forward,
I think we
right?
would just plan the budget, we would plan as if the
As if
vote would
we've done it,
pass.
I see. Okay.
I can dig up the information. I've dug it up already, so, and I can probably provide that to you guys. I probably won't, when we get around to do this, I probably won't be here, so, but I will provide you with all that information if you need it. But first this next week, I want to focus on working on changing the scope of services to that USDA grant. But it should take me only a few hours to get that information together.
Great. So before our next meeting, you
So
could
maybe our
get that
next-
out to us.
yeah.
That'd be awesome,
Yeah.
and we could have a little discussion on it.
Yeah, I think it's important to do that, and you probably, it can become a little bit like a personnel get-together too, so you might want to plan an executive session, but you don't necessarily have to have it. Because I think that's part of the public hearing, is to let everybody talk it out.
Yeah.
That's the important part of it.
Yeah.
History moment. I finally figured out what that auditor of public funds is. There are 3 or 4 that we elect every year. They never do anything. Public funds were the monies that came from the perpetual lease lands. And they had to be audited through the 19th century when they were actually used. And they sort of disappeared, and we, in fact, quitclaim deeded all that money back to the people who were actually
deed.
on
All the land,
on the
yeah.
land. And so not only do we no longer, we
Collect
don't
lease.
need those people
don't
because
have
we don't have that land, those funds
Yeah,
don't
so
exist.
it's just another thing to remove.
It's another thing to remove.
Yeah.
Clean up.
So I think I had probably marked all those
Yeah,
All right.
you missed that one.
fence viewers.
So
Because
any
we
other
need to
old
make
business?
room in the town report, because there has to be room
I
for
have that
the new
business.
commissions.
Really quickly,
Yep.
reread it. The one with, and I should have asked this, John, earlier during your town manager's report, and I know you're got a lot going on, but I was just wondering, we had gotten that grant for bike racks and kiosks.
Oh, yeah.
And I wasn't sure if we're getting those, or if we're kind of, this was like in the, when,
Yeah,
We're working with somebody on it.
Casey has had to work on it, but
Okay,
it's coming
okay.
together.
okay,
And part of why we're not jumping in to do that is because this whole paving project's gonna happen next year. B-Chan's gonna come in, pull down all the
So,
signs.
the
put new
whole
signs up.
idea of
So we
putting
put the
up-
new signs up, they take them all down.
but the
Yeah.
bike racks, we can theoretically,
We can put them in some places, but we can't put them like in a little park over here
Right.
because we don't know what our impact of the bridge is gonna be on that,
Right. Right.
or the
And
staging area.
she also had to work through the budget because it wasn't accurate to the number
It
and
changed a
the
lot.
cost and so it's been kind of a project.
But it's underway.
But it's underway. Casey's been working on it.
And I actually think the project's gonna be a lot better with the changes that they've made.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be something that's gonna really
Because she worked with
meet the needs of the bike,
locomotion.
of people using the trails.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. And then my only other, thanks for that update, the only other, I didn't see this in the minutes, and maybe you didn't talk about it at the last meeting, but at the July meeting, we had talked about having a community meeting around the police department, and I didn't know if there has been conversations about that. Obviously, Aaron's been dealing with a lot with staffing, but I just wanted to make sure we're moving that forward if we're going to do it.
I
There
think,
still hasn't been there wasn't any more conversation about it last time.
I think we should revisit it next time,
Okay.
if that's all right.
Yep, I just want to make sure we don't drop it.
No, you're totally right, yeah. And I want to add for the old business that our town manager search is underway. I want to put out a big thank you to the community members on the search committee who really helped us with our interview questions, helped us go through applicants. I think we had almost 20 applicants. We're interviewing, doing first round interviews now. We feel very fortunate that we have such well qualified candidates. I mean, people are highly qualified, and it's awesome that we're in this position, especially, I feel, given everything you see and hear and read about how difficult it is to hire people. There seem to be like some genuinely interested, genuinely qualified people applying for this, so it's good news.
Yeah. Makes it a little easier all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're planning on, we're wrapping up those interviews Friday.
We'll be
and then
done
we're-
round one interviews Friday. The select board is gonna have to meet. Perhaps we'll meet over the weekend to try to figure out, or maybe Monday to figure out when, we have to decide who we want to bring back for final interviews, who we want to bring back to as soon, we want to keep this rolling, so we get, even if we keep a good pace, we will, the best case scenarios, have somebody in here in September. Which is what we told John in the beginning.
What am I gonna do after that? What I wanna do.
All right, so any other reports, new business, old business? Could we have a motion to go into an executive session to include the town manager pursuant to 1 VSA 313 to discuss personnel matters?
So moved.
Second. Oh.
That was close.
Take it if you want it.
Amanda can break the tie.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Bill.
Lee. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.